Overview, yes. You might. We had we had like a good sesh. Totally new. Yeah, for sure. What's topic again? Good, excellent segues. So let me, man, remind me to get like intro music next time. I found my, I found some excellent tracks that I enjoyed for the other one, but not for this one.
Before we dive in, are we recording? Should we
Um,
record?
I am currently streaming it. My computer might be able to handle recording it too. We'll see. It might tank, but I think worst case, I'll probably cut the stream and keep the recording because I can always upload it later. Okay, so stream's going there, stream is going here as well. So if I click this button, I think worst case, I'll probably cut the stream and keep the recording. Oh, that's my audio. Okay. Cut that audio. Okay, now we have chat. Okay. So we are in good shape. Cool. We got 9. I'm stoked. Welcome to the party. What I wanted to do with this thing is, we had a good session like last week of like, hey, we're working on a couple of like interesting sort of problems. And are all kind of headed in similar types of directions. So let's like have a chat about it. And that was with Rome and Mike, who's in audience today, which is super dope. And I ended up with a pretty like useful seeming notebook out of that, which I should be able to. Let me just test and make sure the screen share is going to work too. If I do this, then it should. Screen 1, screen 2, maybe that. Okay. That's probably gonna do both. Man, this is a lot of audio for my poor little Mac to handle. We'll find out. Okay. So, ended up with a pretty solid, like, notebook. That was like, okay, as we kind of go through the topics, I'll grab some papers and other extra sources and a couple repos or whatever, and throw them on into that, and that felt, productive, and it was a good like chat. And there's, I think, a like an open question of, in terms of like getting stuff done with AI or without, I guess. But in terms of like what actually works and actually helps you actually do things, we already do that. There's an excellent meetup on Fridays over at Latent Space Discord about that. But I feel like there is not enough. There's a lot of surface area to cover. Yeah, solid ramble, right? So to that end, my thought being, well, I would just like to, like, if you're working on something and you want to show it to people, I always want to platform that. I think that's super dope. As a definitely like just a general spot to make that available to people, and then to fill the time in between, the thought is like, either if you're working on a problem and you think it's solvable but you're not exactly sure how to go about it, or you are quite sure how to go about it, and what tool chain that you're using to attack it, are things that I think are worth people like being in public discussing as much as possible, because I think there's a lot of gray areas there, and a lot of like AI products that kind of work, or like open source things that are a little janky but they're really good for this one thing, but only if you do it this way, etc., etc., etc. Nixon Rust is all you need. True. So yeah, I kind of want to do like space for, if you're working on something, show it off. If you are working on something and using something to do it, tell us about it. And then I also like want to make a little space for like general things that you probably didn't, or you might not have seen this week, or that are worth talking about this week in the space of when it comes to like code gen, AI, making stuff, all those kind of just topics that we generally enjoy in this space, I suppose. I figured I would kick it off and just I have one demo, which is something that Al and I have been working on lately that is sort of geared towards this whole kind of problem. But I wanted to, I guess, like make sure I made a little space for like if anybody has any questions or initial thoughts or like what it is or things that they wish to say whilst I got things going, I guess. And also openly, yeah, Al, if you got anything that you wanted to chime in on there, feel free to jump in.
No, I think you covered most of it.
Cool.
Very intrigued to hear. I've heard a lot about all of you guys from Yikes over the last couple months.
I do talk
working
about
on
my
cool
all these cracked people in here. They're great.
Yeah, in very positive terms. Haven't heard a lot of details, but have heard about the cracked AI code gen discussions. We've been working on a little something similar to that as well, which is the Tribe product that we'll probably show in a minute. The Yikes, I don't appear to be able to screen share, so
Oh yeah, that's because I'm screen sharing. Here, let me unscreen share, and then that should work for you. If I stop that, then that should go.
that would make sense.
Yes.
Rough Arena, just to summarize what Yikes was saying, I guess this is the welcome message. Today's agenda is basically, I'm going to quickly show you guys Tribe just because I want to show off. And I think Yikes has a discussion plan around some latest news and things going on, which is where we're going to invite all of you on stage to do a sort of a town hall. After that, then I have a chance for everybody else to demo anything cool that they're working on, show us your coolest thing that you've been doing, or just tell us about what you're interested in. And then we'll probably have a couple smaller discussions around some techniques and things like that, as well as the weekly format for this event. Finally, at the end, if you are interested in pitching what you're working on, I do believe there are some VCs that have signed up on the Luma, so the recording will get sent out to them, and we'll try to do our best to rep you guys to that crowd. And if you hate VCs, then that's totally fine too. Without further ado,
Is he
that's
demo
my
ready?
face.
Yeah,
That's
the addendum I guess I will add is like I primarily want to like have this thing be a thing that's valuable to you guys. So if there's any like if there is any meetups that you wish you had that you feel like you are missing and that a quality of that meetup could be adapted into this one, definitely like this is your time, and I'm always like open to listen for stuff like that. That's kind of the direction I want to head with this thing. So just a note, I suppose. But yeah, feel free to show off your stuff, whatever what you got, Al. What we've been cooking on.
Sure. So this is Tribe. The main cause of Tribe is I at one point had about 10 of these little quad codes sitting on my screen. I haven't made the jump to Codex yet because I'm still a little hesitant to rethink my whole architecture. Also, I have a number of repos that are Claude Code geared, so if I switch over to using a new engine and it doesn't understand that, I'm going to deal with a whole bunch of hallucinations, which sounds like a lot of work. But main thing is, if you have enough Claude codes, eventually you want some standardization. The other thing that I noticed is consistently I would have some kind of a system running. So this is actually this is a Next.js app because we have like a public hosted version, but it's also a command line tool and some Kubernetes containers and a variety of other pieces. And when the agents are working on something like that, they tend to get into a situation where they're stepping on each other's toes quite a bit. So one of them might try to restart a server or something like that to redeploy some changes so that it can test something, and then that interrupts the testing workflow of another one. So we've implemented with Tribe, which X has been helping with quite a bit, the ability to have any number of agents. So these agents are all working in one little tribe here, and then you can click and drag a task onto them. So do something like this, and then now this group of agents will start to work on this tribe. The general idea behind this is that there's a variety of things that you want to test in parallel, which can be really helpful, but also sometimes you want to have separate builds and separate systems. So we built this out with that in mind. It allows you to manage projects as well, and it has a whole, actually has its own Git server built into it, which is kind of helpful through Git. So we use Git, and that means that like all of these tasks actually have their own little Git server. You can see the repos and everything. So it keeps all your agents separate. They all make their own commits, all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Oh, I see you're posting another video. Cool. Yeah, main concept that we've been setting up here, though, is the ability to have slightly better coordination of these agents. And then the other piece that's kind of cool is we started adding codecs and the cursor agent as well. So if you wanted to have them all playing nicely inside one environment without, having a dozen terminal tabs or having, virtual machines on your computer, then this makes it really easy. It's also very lightweight. So at this point, the load on your machine is about the same as just running all the quad codes, but you can run builds and things like that in parallel. The last piece, which we're now working on, is the ability to cherry pick all of your commits out of our Git key, and then actually set up PRs directly from here into your traditional hosting. So if you have like a GitHub repo or something like that, you can pull over either a commit or a full PR from the system into there, which we found has been pretty good for a number of the firms we've been talking to. Some of them are more like dev shops and things like that, where they have a lot of different ongoing projects, or they have like a client repo that they don't want to have vibe code pushed to. So it kind of allows you to cherry pick things. The other piece that we have found is it's pretty helpful to have like a PRD generation flow. So we have this ability to create a whole swath of these tasks at the same time, and that seems to be a pretty useful thing for some people. Especially if you're not as prompt engineering oriented, this makes it quite a bit easier because we have sort of templates, so you can set up templates for all these agents. And you can select from a list of existing agents, and then you can actually set up configs and stuff as well. Things like sudo access, tool usage, and that kind of thing. Which obviously you can get all of that with Quad code out of the box, but managing a whole bunch of different text files and then keeping them lined up can be a little annoying, so we're trying to standardize some things. Sorry, I see someone, but I can't read your name because it looks like it's in a black font.
It's Mike, yeah. I need to change the color of that role, honestly. Yeah. He's cooking on some cool stuff. I was just thinking about how to do that exactly. Where it, because it's like, I don't know how long that one is, and I know, at least for some of the stuff that you've been working on, Mike, you kind of need a little bit of context to make it work. So I'm like, is that a long one, or is it like a quick kind of run it down? Because I'm thinking we could do, like, if it's like 5 minutes or so, then we could have you come up and we can like yap about it for a little bit. But if it's like longer, then I could probably like roll it as kind of an outro thing, is kind of how I'm thinking about it. But in any case, if you yeah, I mean, you are. I do not need you to talk if you would prefer to just drop the notes off. But if you want to talk, you are absolutely welcome to bring you on later. Okay, absolutely. Well, yeah, that we will definitely get into exactly what that is that we're referencing. But you might see some interesting links here over on the side as your little teaser. And then, yeah, I've got a little bit of news and stuff, and then I see a request to speak, so let's jump somebody on. What's up, Dinnerbug? How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
What up?
I'm Kyle. I work in AI engineering, and I'm particularly curious about codegen agents. So that's a really cool thing to see what was just demoed.
Sweet.
I am curious. I have some questions. First, if I could just rehash what's going on with that real quick. You said it's instances of Claude code serving up, taking on certain tasks piece by piece with maybe some additional tooling for pushing and whatnot. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that correct?
Yeah, basically. I'm going to clear the auth session here, actually, and I can show you what this looks like from an onboarding standpoint. I realized that the demo wasn't comprehensive. So the general idea is you can import any of your existing CLI agents. So if you have, for example, a Quad code OAuth key, maybe you're not making the most of your Mac subscription, or you'd like to run things in the background while you're doing something else or stepping away from your computer. The whole idea here is to keep those scripts running for you, and then also be able to run them on our cloud. So we have a couple of data centers associated with the Internet Archive in SF that have now offered us some free space. And so we're working on being able to offer clusters for people, so that you'll be able to basically seamlessly run something locally and then just move your whole workflow along with all your agents into the cloud. And so you can close your laptop, walk away for like 2 hours, and come back, and the agents will still be there working.
Yeah. So question. So I guess how custom is your configuration for each of these agents? And then also, like, to what degree did you have to build maybe some custom tooling? So I guess what I'm really asking is like, what types of MCP servers did you plug and play with, and what did you personally have to develop to get this over the top, I guess, or did you have to do that at all?
So we actually been shying away from MCPs because they tend to crowd the context quite a bit. You can use them obviously if you want to. You can also deploy your own MCP servers directly inside of the cluster that we provide. But the main takeaway here, at least the goal, is that you can configure the agents to run sequential workflows. So, for example, if you wanted to have one agent that does the initial research on a task, like combing through the code base, I find that's a really good way to preload the context so that the agent then has a good starting point for implementation. My personal workflow is first agent reviews the code base and tries to analyze how to accomplish the task. Second agent reviews the analysis and double checks it for hallucinations, over engineering, anything like that. And then once that's been finished, then the implementation agent actually has a really easy job in front of it, and its job is just to pound through running playwright tests or whatever's necessary. And so with that in mind, kind of what we're trying to create is these multi-agent workflows that all run off of one task branch within Git. And so mostly I found actually you don't really need MCPs exactly. You need more like you need the code analysis, you need file system traversal, and then you need to have a good place to store all the information that comes out of it.
Right. So real quick, I guess in that going back a little bit, you're talking about doing a code analysis and then maybe like a plan and then actually implementation. Which are these custom agents, or are you assigning those tasks individually to Claude Code, kind of like almost like chaining steps for Claude Code, or are these different agents entirely?
So it's just chaining steps for Claude Code, and then when we call them agents, it's more about like what you're preloading into their context, what their structural prompt is, configs, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
One of the things that Yikes brought to the table is like, allowing certain tools can actually be a detriment to success in a lot of cases.
Certain.
So our goal is like things like certain tools like file system access and stuff like that. You really don't want your audit agent to be doing a ton of that. You want to just look at the stuff that did happen and look at like a report file.
Yeah,
mostly
at least for
not so sophisticated, passing MD files along seems to be the best way.
Yeah, I think
Gotcha.
on that note of like do I need to use a different agent? At least the way that I've have been looking, especially lately, kind of about these things, like regardless of whether it's a Claude Code or a Codex or a CodeRabbit CLI or any of the other 20 that just came out, end of the day, what you have is a context window, and then you have an LLM, and then you have tools that can modify the context window. So that you can think of that as multiple different agents. You can think of that as multiple different kinds of agents. You can think of that as instances of the same agent. End of the day, it's just context, and then what for that particular like window / chunk / composition of chunks, what tools does it need to do the thing, and then it should go back to one. Like now there's a new task, now there's a new thing to do. Let's rebuild this context window and redo your tools. That's my general thought on how I approach like that problem in general, I guess.
Cool.
Often letting them search the internet causes hell loops for each true. Absolutely.
Yeah, trying to avoid the hell loops is kind of one of them.
Yeah. It's a context pollution issue. I don't. If you will find that if you have a lot of the same, or like when you put something into the window, the model wants to generate stuff that looks kind of like that. They're very good like in context learners, right? So the thought being that if it's just randomly searching the internet and grabbing a bunch of like junk HTML that's like not clean and like a bunch of like nonsense that's getting stuffed in there, then it'll look for something and it can interpret, and then it will find a thing, and then that's all it will think about forever, and then go off into a doom loop on the side. Is generally my experience, at least. But I avoid that by trying to keep the thing clean, which means unless I am actively using the MCP right now, it's no MCPs.
The one thing I'll add there as well is we're kind of creating a VM around each one of these tribes. So we call these tribes, and then a tribe is just a group of agents that are working on the same concurrent task or same task list. So one of the benefits of doing it this way is that this tribe and this tribe can both have different versions of the same branch. So you can get them to check out like the dev branch from Git, and then you can have two different tasks working in parallel. The last thing that we're kind of working on now, which actually I worked on earlier this year with Prometheus Swarm, which is a decentralized, we built like a full DePIN version of the same product, which was a little bit harder to get adoption, oddly, because it's all crypto payments and people didn't like, paying for a DePIN for this, so we went more for like a developer local tool. But with Prometheus, we were able to get about 500 nodes running, and then they were doing pull requests and actually reviewing the pull requests and merging them on their own. And that turned into a bit of a chaotic situation, so now we've kind of leaned more towards the local developer tool environment. But the main takeaway being getting them to go through the whole flow of like preparing pull requests, reviewing each other's pull requests, arguing with each other. You want kind of all of that done by the agents so that when a human has to intervene, it's a very minimal interaction that's very short to the point.
Yeah, in an ideal
got
world,
another
you don't
question.
intervene. Yeah, that's at least how I like to play it.
Right. Yeah, this idea of like task to PR use is awesome. Like it's definitely like the hope in a lot of code gen agents. Like let's get to that full autonomy. I'm curious to know like where are you guys failing? So like what are the really hard challenges that you think you currently are working to overcome, or maybe something that you're hoping for external dependency to help overcome, or whatever it may be. Like what are the hardest parts? What's the next step? Like if it's solved, it makes a huge difference type of thing.
So this is actually
That's a
a
good
really
one.
good segue to a discussion we were hoping to have earlier. The main thing that we've noticed is the quality of the prompts really determines what the outcome is. So if you just randomly generate the prompts, or if you have an agent generate the prompt and the agent that's generating the prompt has the wrong context, then you can get into these like context pollution situations. So what we've kind of been doing so far, at least, is I'm collecting a lot of my own prompts. So actually, Yikes and I have this, we have a sexy prompts channel where we've been dropping all the best prompts that we find. And so we're kind of, we're actually hoping that maybe we can get people to help us curate that like master list and try to find the things that are working really successfully for people, and then use that as sort of the prompt templates that you can then pull from. So that's one direction that I think is really important. The other one is kind of the workflow styles that people choose. So when we release this, hopefully later this week, I'm hoping to release actually the latest version of this beta tomorrow. We'll have some basic tribe templates in place. So like, tribe automatically, if you pull this tribe, then you get, a review agent, a planner agent, and then an implementer. And we want those templated agents to be kind of a foundational element that people can then mix and match and play with. And we're hoping to make it a bit of a social thing where you can kind of then share your prompts and your structure for tribes with your friends. And then the other side of it is I think the enterprise adoption side of this is going to be really interesting, because I think a lot of companies already have existing workflows, and we're hoping to help them cement those and standardize them. So I think probably, at least most of the CTOs that I've talked to seem to be kind of pulling their hair out, trying to deal with all of the AI-generated slop, and it results in companies going one of two ways. They either install CodeRabbit, or they just say fuck it and we've all, or they say don't use any AI code gen in our company. And then I think the second group are going to change their minds pretty soon, and it's just a matter of helping them standardize.
Yeah, I actually have like a somewhat different we have similar thoughts until we have a departure, in which at which point I remember you were saying like when it starts to get messed up is if you send the wrong prompt to the agent with the wrong context. And for me, the thing that's the important word there is context and not prompt, because ideally, if I'm working with any of these situations where these agents need to coordinate with each other, one of the things that I've found is that models are better at prompting themselves than humans are at prompting them. Models know what tokens that they need in order to do the thing. So the problem is they will pick the wrong thing, and then you will get an instantaneous slop buildup if you don't have your guardrails set up correctly to be able to catch that. And so the way that I tend to approach this problem is, rather than looking for agent, like specific agents or specific prompts or specific commands, although I do have a ton of those and make use of them, is the thing that I'm generally looking for is like, how can I get this thing into a loop where I can stop looking at it, and then what do I need it to signal me about, so that I can go check either A, if it's like running off track, or B, like if it's actually done and it's the thing I want. So the general, and like, I find that like making a lot of those little kinds of loops and then like continuing to steer them so that the agents like end up actually giving me the thing that I want. So it's sort of like a meta workflow, if you will, of like, of the available things that I know should output some of the stuff that I want and then a bunch of LLM garbage. How can I pick out the stuff that I want from that, and how many of these loops can I keep going at once without going crazy?
Yeah.
Is generally my thought.
I think the skill issue in prompting is very real, and there is, like you guys are talking about the prompt templates and stuff, there's a lot you can do to try to bridge that gap, and that just gets me thinking like, yeah, like surely there is some degree of initial inference or initial discussion or initial feedback that should be implemented, where it's like you won't even start a task until the user has provided this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And you've got this base to start with. That stuff is definitely going to be super valuable. It's like, so that's maybe one of the challenges that people often don't pay attention to, is how can you like lower the skill barrier in your own system by like making it not so up to the user to make a good prompt, right?
Yeah.
that's
Well,
definitely a
yeah.
good point.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other side of it as well is, in a corporate environment, you actually want to standardize what prompts your team uses, so that there's at least a common understanding of the code base. So this is one of the big things that we've run into as we onboard people to like AI-generated code bases, is you have to actually know how to interface with the code base. So like, if there's a giant folder of markdown files that explains how everything works, one of the first things you need to do is tell the agents to go read all of the previous markdown files that seem like they might be related. So like recently we added an index for all those markdown files, so the agents can quickly get to the file that actually has the documentation they're looking for. But yeah, we have somebody else up here. Sorry, I don't
Yeah,
think
Mike was dropping some stuff over in
Hey,
chat,
guys.
so I figured I'd run him on. Yeah, what's up, man?
I just felt compelled to speak.
Go
if
for
you
it.
look at everything from the view of a compiler,
Mm-hmm.
where each prompt is basically like a block of code that's executing, it has inputs and outputs. It has a certain state. It has certain permissions to things they can do in that particular state, in that particular instruction, in that block, in that loop over there doing that thing. And there's some kind of state machine that regulates the transitions from one state to another that are deterministic.
Yep.
And then you can compile the roles and permissions for each one of those states ahead of time and prepare the data.
Yeah, I think for me that's it touches on a few, which I hope I can grab Baca next week, because I know he is working on a sort of
So
state
just one more
machine.
thing.
Yeah. What's up?
And then you can treat the calling of the LLM as a Nix derivation, which will go from the state of beginning to the state of end and capture that result. And that's what I'm working on. So each call to the LLM is a Nix derivation in my system in the future.
Nix derivation. Interesting. I will have.
A reproducible step.
When you say a Nix derivation, is that effectively like a system snapshot, more or less? Because Nix is like the portable kind of
system
system.
snapshot that's exactly reproducible, where all the inputs are available to it and are snapshotted basically like Git.
Nice. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we are. It's definitely one of the things that. I definitely like a few things there. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely see if I can hassle Baca to come on here, because I know he's been cooking with state machines lately. But the
thanks for letting me speak. I'll talk to you guys later.
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you for
listen
coming
in.
on.
But that's basically what I wanted to say. That you guys are talking about using Git and using the file system, and I'm saying that each state, each time point where you might use Git or you might use the file system, is basically predetermined by the task, and you can narrow that down so it won't go and delete everything, destroy your entire Git repository like it's done to me a couple times.
Oh, it's yeah.
Definitely,
It certainly has
definitely.
a tendency to do that. Yeah.
Just Mike, before you go, we are going to have a quick discussion in a sec. But what we did with Prometheus was actually the entire thing was on chain. And it was all Merkle based. So we had a
Yeah.
DPIN network. Well, my previous project, which is still running in parallel, is Koi, which is a DPIN network. And so we had about 500 nodes of our DPIN network actually executing a full proof system, and then using our Solana fork as the state machine for this. What we
Okay,
found
great.
it was actually it was a really robust, like, cryptographic primitive, but getting over the line for developer adoption meant dumbing it down a lot, which is why we're now kind of leaning towards more like local host based systems that are a little bit more straightforward. But yeah, I totally hear you on state machines and like trying to create like the necessary checkpointing. So the Git structure is kind of at the moment like a necessary abstraction that makes it easier for humans to understand. But I think the long-term goal is that these things are completely autonomous and run inside of like crazy cryptographic.
So what I was just wrote down today, I can share, is for the Git, that to keep it from destroying your Git, the task when it starts, it has to basically create a whole new clone of the repo, or give it a copy on write or read-only file system like Union FS, where the Git sources are mounted and available, but they can't destroy them, and then it's a reproducible environment.
Oh yeah, so these ones,
I think
the way that we've been doing this. At the moment, this is a Git server that runs inside the cluster, and then each agent gets their own branch, which they have branch permissions on, but they don't have any merge or management permissions. So you can let them run haywire on their own branch, and then merging it requires kind of like a higher level of approval. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But I'm just saying that for my plan, I'm going to have one process space, so I'm not going to have separate servers, even for the Git. The Git server should run in process. I mean, sure, you need a central file system, right? But all of the operations for accessing the file system and Git will be in Rust, right, directly in the agent, in a single monolithic binary, basically.
Yeah. Very Nixie.
Sounds really hard to debug. Like, yeah.
Potentially. If you, I think, I think it's kind of an open question, or like I see a couple of people, which I guess we'll touch on in news breakdown, kind of thinking in this direction of like, up until now, version control was built for humans, and there are now non-humans working on the code base. So I think in terms of the ergonomics, even if like foundationally the tool ends up staying the same, which debatable, the ergonomics of how that tool gets used and like how it's part of your workflow now, at least for me, one of the biggest kind of like things that has changed how I work with agents is how I like work with and think about Git, which is the currently like my favorite client for it right now is Git Butler. But you can more or less like use anything that's going to let you. The thing that you essentially need to do is figure out like what's going to go in the code base, what's not going to go in the code base, but I don't want to lose, and then what's actual slop trash and I need to get rid of it. And once you have those three buckets and you can version them properly, then you're in pretty good shape for like just like letting the thing rip. Is at least has been my experience. I mean,
you need a private data vault. You need to have some kind of process data, which is protected, and then you need something like a Hugging Face data set, or multiple Hugging Face data sets for different large data, and possibly multiple Git repositories with submodules.
Yeah, I think I imagine you could probably do. There's certainly a thought that you could, whatever needs to get done to version control to make it like work in this new sort of context where it lives now is, I think you could probably do it just with Git and existing Git tools. But I'm a big fan of running around playing with all the hot shiny toys, and there are a few of them that I think are kind of heading in the right direction. But I think definitely like version control is gonna be like if I'm interviewing somebody, maybe 5 years ago, I want to know how much you know about React. Now I want to know how much you know about Git. Is kind of where my head's at with it these days, because that's the real important thing. But yeah, the solid thoughts, stuff, etc. Is there? I have like a couple of like news related things. So I was thinking I can jump into that for like the next 10, and then we can spend 10 or so after that closing it out. Does that work for you guys, or do you want to do this? This is more for y'all than it is for me. So if there's anything that you guys wanted to cover or talk about or whatever, other than like news related to cogen agents, feel free to speak now or forever hold your peace. Get this thing going.
I mean, I really want to hear if anybody's working on using Codex and what you think of it so far, because I haven't.
True.
I haven't gone to it as I use Cloud Code, because right now I use Cloud Code like 10 hours a day, and spending 10 hours a day on Codex would be slowing down my workflow by one day.
A day, an eternity. Codex this week. Nice. Cool. I do have some
Gemini.
news. Yeah.
I use Gemini Flash.
It's still unbelievable to me that you can get that thing to write code, dude.
I have a whole system for it.
How does it do on like tool usage and stuff like that? Have they improved that at all?
I'm writing my own tools, so I'm just having it write shell scripts.
Oh, interesting. Wow, you've really gone deep on this then.
Yeah, I
I think
downloaded
that's,
its own language.
I don't know if I would go so far as, oh, hey, Baco's here. I was just talking about you. We were getting into state machine context management, which you should definitely, especially when you're ready for your release, you should definitely come on and present about that. But please feel free to jump on and yap about that or about whatever you want. It's kind of open season. I've got, in relation to Codex, which is an excellent, you're going to rewrite that? Sick, dude. That sounds excellent. Let me put the thingy on the screen, because for those of you who are interested in using Codex or kind of what's been going on in that in general, there is a thing that, if I can get it here, there we go. Okay. So, fun fact, in case you didn't know, and you want to try out Codex CLI, whatever, if you go to OpenRouter this week, what they're doing is 50% off on GPT-5. I don't know, however, if this is the new model or not, but, and I also don't know if the 20 RPM, I don't think it's the Codex model either, but, and the 20 RPM, I don't know how useful that'll be, just because I know most of these like CLI agents like spam calls nonstop. But yeah, have you tried the Codex model, Baco? That was the next thing I was going to jump into, actually, which was, that was 4.1 asked me for confirmation all the time. Yeah, cute. Come on.
Oh, I got it by
What's
myself.
up, buddy?
Yeah, okay. I've worked on with the Codex model quite a bit. It's way better than the GPT-5 one. So if you GPT-5 model, try the Codex model, and you want to try it with their tooling. So you want to use either the plugin for the IDE, which is convenient for when you use Cursor or Windsurf. You can just still use plugin and run them both at the same time, but not using different services, which is cool. It's pretty hard to hit that limit unless if you're doing a lot of coding. With the Pro plan, which is like the $20 plan or whatever for OpenAI, tool use is really good. When you give it it does it, which is nice, and it doesn't ask you for confirmation, and it will test it and write tests and double check everything. It's actually really good.
That's what I've heard, is that it will it's very instruction tuned. Like if you tell it to run the test, it will just go run the test.
Yeah. Else, it doesn't ask you about it. It doesn't, like, GPT-5 is really annoying because it's constantly like, oh hey, plan to do, writes out exactly what it was going to write, and you asked it to write, and then it's like, I need your confirmation to do this, and it's like, dude, you just fucking write the goddamn file.
Yeah, like, yep, that's what it is. Like, go write it now. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Hey,
I very
Baco,
much know that feeling. Yeah.
Amen.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the well, that's good to hear. Because I was curious. You're on the $20 a month plan and you haven't like been hitting limits much? I haven't really put it to the test,
Oh
but
no,
I'm
I,
only on
I,
20
I, I
bucks.
totally hit my limit.
Okay.
I'm just saying that avid coder, like if you're doing a lot of coding with it, like if you're mostly vibe coding, then you probably, yeah, you probably want the $200 a month, but I can't justify the $200 a month. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
well,
run out of
it was
credits and then I wait like 2 days and I'll do it
right.
again.
Well, it was a great deal. The $200 a month plan is a great deal for Claude because Claude's tokens are wildly expensive until they started like putting like 3,000 rules on top of when you can do it and only when
Yeah.
like the moon is in a
When
particular.
they had the $200 plan, I was doing about 8,000 tokens a shot.
Yeah.
Sorry, 80,000 tokens a shot.
Hey guys, I
Yeah.
want to throw something in.
Yeah.
I have a whole set of quality procedures, standard operating procedures, and change request forms that I'm using with the AI. I'm using Gemini Flash. And if you give it enough structure, like I have been doing, you can see the prompts I shared. It's all there.
It's over in
I
chat.
dropped
Yeah.
all the links.
Yeah, I'm gonna save. I expect we'll probably end up like having a bunch of links floating after every one of these. So I'm just I'll get something together where I can just stash all of the links with all the things.
Yeah, just follow my work. You'll see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so is it the run prompt 3.sh that you're talking about?
Yeah, there's prompts. The one before that runs the prompts in Nix, so that creates a reproducible Nix environment to run each prompt separately. And then under prompts, there's a whole bunch of prompts you can see.
Got it. Nice. Oh, sick. Yeah.
Those are the
No,
tasks.
that'll be. Yeah. No, that'll be awesome. On one hand, I think like the prompt sharing and stuff is like good and useful or whatever, but I don't like that feels too manual for me. Like I want an answer that and like that's yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of flow that I think works. That like you can have any number of these kinds of prompts, but ideally, and it sounds like that's kind of where you're at. Is like there's some kind of structure where you're not manually injecting which prompt is which when for a given kind of thing. So you have to think about it with your meat brain. I am. Nice. Well, yeah, exactly. That's kind of I see a lot of teams kind of heading that direction right now, and I think it's a good direction to head. But very like there's a lot of ground to cover in terms of like what will make the good one. Yeah, right. Which I guess for those who have not seen the Baco before, he has kind of a state machine sort of orchestration manager thing that I'm sure we will, or I hope that we might be able to see a demo of in the somewhat near future. Hell yeah, good shit. Sick. Well, yeah, definitely let me know and we can make that happen. Interesting. That is actually a great segue to one of the other sort of news items of the week, I suppose, which I found this one in Swix's Discord. So for context, there's a paper called Mem Agent, and the Mem Agent paper, sort of the basic premise is like, hey, like how we do RL to make things be better at reasoning, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it turns out you can also do that to make it better at long context management as well. So we can RL whatever model you want into being like a few million token context length kind of thing, which is an ambitious claim. And they have a repo here for it, which I haven't thoroughly tested. But then what I saw today was, hey, somebody else has made a model called Mem Agent that is trained with a reinforcement learning technique, but I don't think it's the same one as this, but yet to see it. And then they also happen to have that in an MCP server. And if you read the description of the model, the thing that it, or what was it? Yeah, an agent scaffold trained using GSPO over an agent scaffold that is built around an Obsidian-like memory system and the tools required to interact with it. If you know me, you will know what a fan I am of Obsidian and the tools found therein. I do too. It makes me so mad. Great. Like, I'm happy that you have plugins. That's fantastic. But yeah, I would really love to like get at that code base because it's Obsidian. It's like markdown editor thingy. It's like org Rome. Except in with like Next.js and Tari and crap, basically. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the one that I know is Rome Research, and then they have org mode in Emacs, and then org mode has a plugin called org Rome that I've heard very good things about. It basically the same kind of down that pipe. Yeah. The MD files is I will add that to the list of topics we should discuss one of these weeks, is like markdown files. What do we do about markdown files? Because right now our repo is filled with a ton of markdown files, and some of them are slop garbage that should go, and some are very, very important I don't want to lose. So it's an interesting spot to be in. Sure. So the way that I've seen this approached, or one of the approaches that I liked was from Manuel, who I'm also going to try and browbeat into coming to one of these, is you give the model that directive of the like, oh, there's a markdown file, blah, 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 and you just say, use SQLite. And then it will end up building you like the database schemas that sort of represent that document relationally. Yeah, and then right. Yeah, and then it can just query the sections of that document that are important for it, and then you can also, if you want to get crazy and you're using SQLite anyway, you can just throw your state machine in there too and do your orchestration out of that. But the yeah, it's a little ambitious. Yeah, it's definitely kind of a secret technique, but I hear good things about it. I also am not that good with SQL either, so. But yeah, I think the definitely another like open question generally is like, how are we gonna address memory here? And I think I'm actually quite interested to see what works with this, because I use a memory MCP server when I need it. I've actually moved away from it a lot these days, but it just does knowledge graphs and JSON, which is not very human readable. It's kind of annoying, but so my thought is like, what's up? Yeah. Sweet. Excellent. Okay, cool. Yes. Let's see. Let me see if I can grab the prime number philosophy thing. And yeah, I guess we could roll that as kind of like part of the outro. So I think we're in a good spot for yaps. And we got about last 5 minutes or so from the designated time. So my thought being, like, if you guys were to come back to this next week or a week in the future, is there anything that you are not getting from the other places that you go during the week that you think you could, in theory, get here if we were to facilitate that? If so, what is it, so I can facilitate it? If anyone has thoughts, of course. Or we can just do this again. I'm perfectly happy with that. Yeah, you too. Yeah, it's good to just like have a hang and shoot the shit about it. I'm definitely going to be kind of running around to all of my spots, I think, to kind of see what's... Because, like, I have... Right, it feels like the old crew's getting back together. It's good stuff. Where's my... Hmm. Solid topic. Perfect. Perfect. There we go. Nice. Hmm. Do you mean that if, in terms of these logs, a good place to keep those logs would be inside of a Hugging Face dataset, or is there something else about the Hugging Face dataset you were trying to say there? Yeah, that is definitely a thing. Yeah, I think that is, at least for me, one of the things that I think will be very helpful in terms of getting these things to be sick. Yeah. Alligator, sure. Okay. Well, yeah, no, I think that's... Yeah, okay, so that's kind of the snapshot thing, is the idea with the data sets is like, here's this... Nice. Yeah, no, definitely. I think I definitely would like to get more. I think the logs are important. Like of the agent application itself, but I think yeah, you're kind of headed in the right direction. Of right now, the question is what, in terms of all of the things that go into me getting the code on my screen. So like my agent, my system, my tool set, my whatever. Like some of that is something that should be kept and like treasured in version control or turned into a data set or whatever. And then some of that is trash I can throw away. And then some of that is the code that I actually need and I need to compile it. And I think I want, yeah. Mm. Yeah, I think the strategy of, for right now, the best thing to do probably is to just capture all of the context. So if you can do something like a Nick snapshot, that's probably a good start. And then as you go through the process of, yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and I think right, and so, yeah, so I think the like parsing of that into the correct data set is the like trick, and then the thing to do right now, like to me, is like okay, like collect those and then tag them with like the stuff that came out of it, so they're all kind of correlated with each other, and then you can kind of figure out like, okay, keep this one, throw this one away. That kind of approach is kind of, I think, a very strong one. Yeah. In theory, you might use a distributed ledger. Yes, you might. Well, yeah, I think there's definitely... Yeah, we should do... Nice. Nice. I have on my list of topics to cover logs, blockchains, and data sets are perhaps some deep things we'll deep dive on. And then from there, I think we could probably call episode 1 a wrap, and I can play us out with the freaking prime number philosophy, and we'll be in good shape. But yeah, hopefully it was a good little yap. I didn't get to like all of the news, but there's always more freaking news, so I'm glad that there's... I'd rather have engagement with the people. Yeah, exactly. I'd rather have the people peopling than I would me going over the news, so that works out totally fine for me. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it, though, is the question. Oh, yeah, I'm on stage. You should be able to, right? So let's do that, and then we can play that out. But yeah, I will run it back for next week. I'm going to try and... Actually, let me make a note. Manuel for state machines. And there was somebody else I wanted to grab. Oh, no, there's somebody else with Baco, and he showed up, so we're good. Yeah, I'll see if I can grab Manuel and have him do a little, like, sequel sesh. I think that would be super dope. But yes, let us play it out, as it were. But thank you for attending the glorious meetup number 2, I guess. Let's play the thing. We'll do that. Indeed, yes. Check out. Actually, yeah. Let me. If you are interested in learning more stuff from Mike, you can search SoulFundMeme, and he will pop up undoubtedly. Baco, do you have like a thing that you're doing lately that you would want to direct people to, or are you just kind of like YOLOing? Not so much. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, you're good. No obligation. But I just wanted to make sure I shouted out anybody who has a shout out to do. And then, yes, Al and I's little orchestrator type project, which, are we sharing the URL to that at the moment? I don't know. Yeah? Cool. Okay. Sick. Yeah. Yes. And then, yeah, so Mike is SoulFundMeme, TribeCode.ai is us, Baco is around if you need him. And then, yeah, hopefully we will have some more folks and more stuff to talk about next time. And then we shall play the thing, and hopefully the audio will do the thing. Beep boop. Thank you. Cheers. Oh, you don't? Oh my gosh, why? Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do that. Yeah, I don't know how that freaking stuff works here. We got that. Cool. Yeah, I will just I will put it at the end of the video when I upload it. We'll throw it on that stuff. Oh yeah, Kev, we should have you come show off Gary, like, I don't know, one of these weeks coming up too.